Yeah. In my
Camera
life.
speeding. We're ready to go. Whenever you're ready, Angie.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, tell me your names and title and the agency you work at.
My name is Abdullahi Kahin, and I am a program coordinator at Wellshare International.
Tell me more about the Tobacco Free Communities program.
Through the Tobacco Free Communities program, we do number of projects. We do number of things, and one of these is the youth education classes that I am part of the team that runs the class.
Tell me more about that. What kind of subjects you cover, what kind of interaction you have with the youth.
For our youth program, we have a number of curriculums that we use. One of them is healthy youth lifestyles curriculum, where we talk about healthy eating, we talk about exercise, and the reason why we do it is because it's really important to talk about this with the young people that we work with. And back home, food was just food, and you eat food, you're good, and you don't need to learn more about what kind of food is good for you and what kind of food is bad for you. We didn't have a lot of fast food, so it's really important that we talk about it when young people are growing up here and when we are living here in the U.S. There's fast food, there is a lot of processed and unhealthy food here, where in back home food were most likely organic and there was not a lot of processed food. We talk about exercise too, the benefits of taking a walk instead of sitting at home all day. We talk about why it's important for you to be physically active, and because in back home people were more likely to be on their foot walking, where in here we have a lot of machines, we don't walk a lot, and we encourage young people, you still need to be active, it's good for your health.
How about tobacco? What kind of
And
areas you have touching on tobacco issue?
another curriculum that we use is a curriculum that we got from Answer, a partner organization, and the curriculum is 8 week long curriculum where we talk about what is in tobacco, the different chemicals. I remember I think it was 7,000 different chemicals that are in tobacco, and when we talk about that number, it's always shocking. We talk about that the different chemicals, how each of them, most of them affect you, and how some of these chemicals directly cause cancer. So when it's an eye-opening when we talk to young people, tobacco is not just the leaves rolling in paper. It's more than that. There are all these chemicals in tobacco, and whether you are a smoker or someone who is living with other people who are smoking, it's still affecting you almost the same way. We talk about that. We talk about perceptions on tobacco. We talk about how it's important for young people to be able to say no when that day comes and someone, maybe their peers or their friends, come to them and say, hey, it's a good day, let's celebrate, let's use tobacco. Maybe their graduation day, maybe a big day when they say, let's go celebrate and go smoke shisha or cigarettes. Shisha is also a major problem in our community. Shisha or hookah is because it's more of a social thing where young people come together and smoke in a well-lit room where different kinds of lights are on and kind of appealing and enticing to young people. So we educate them on shisha is equally dangerous as cigarettes, if it's not more dangerous than cigarettes.
How do you see the impacts on the young people? Do you do a surveys? What kind of feedbacks you have for those sessions?
We do surveys that I don't have the numbers right now, but we also talk to young people in the session or after the session. They come to you, talk to you, because the program is open where there's no judgment. Young people share their opinions, or they are open to talk to us. We're approachable people where everyone is our friend. So they talk to us, and oftentimes these stories they tell us are really stories that are really powerful, where young people come to you and tell you, oh my God, I didn't know that tobacco is dangerous, or I didn't know that shisha was not actually a fruit, because one of the ways they advertise is that shisha is a fruit, and we believe that fruits are healthy. So young people don't know that when you smoke, you're smoking tobacco, not fruits. So they come to you and talk to you and tell you their stories, tell you how what we are doing is actually changing their perceptions. And our goal is to get to these youth first before they hear from other people who would likely influence them to try tobacco. And tobacco companies are really powerful, and it's in everywhere. It's advertised in TVs. It's literally everywhere, and they make it really enticing to young people, make it seem really cool. So we are going against that really powerful force, and we are talking to them in a way that we show that cool people like them don't use tobacco. So we want them to be themselves. We want to be able to say, I know what is in tobacco. I know this is dangerous, and no, I am not gonna try it.
That's a very good statement. Can you give me some? You talk a lot about community needs. Could you give me some conclusions, statements about this community needs? You talk about shisha. They perceive as a fruit as a healthy. You talk a lot about people don't have the right information. Can you put this community needs in a closing sentence for me?
In the Somali community, tobacco is a major problem. Whether it's cigarettes, whether it's shisha, or whether it's these new technology where e-cigarettes and things like that. But in general, tobacco is a major problem in our community. So what we want is to educate them that all these kinds of tobacco are all dangerous. They all contain dangerous chemicals that may cause diseases like cancer. So we want them to be aware of that and make a decision based on that knowledge.
How can you add on cultural assets and community assets you see can become a protective factors for those young people you work with?
For our community, we wanted them to know and remember that tobacco is not part of our culture. Using tobacco was not, and we don't want it to be part of our culture. Using shisha is not our culture. Our culture encourages people to be healthy. Our religion, which our culture is based on, encourages people not to use things that are harmful to you. Tobacco is very harmful. So we want people to remember things that we do in our culture, things that are positive. For young people, for example, to be involved in sports like soccer, which is a big thing in our community. We want them to remember the good things that we traditionally did and stay away and remember that these bad things are not part of our culture, and we don't want them to be part of our culture.
Talk a little bit about you using the sports as strategies, you using that positive factors. How do you see you can use soccer be able to change people's behavior?
We want young people to be involved in things that are fun, to be involved in things that are social and also are good for their health. Being in sports is that it's healthy and it gives you a positive environment where you can be with other people doing positive things. And we work with coaches like soccer coaches, and we participate in soccer tournaments where we table to reach young people to show our data, to show that and educate them that tobacco like shisha are dangerous, or there are chemicals that are not good for you, and if you use tobacco, you are not going to be a healthy person and you are not going to be good at sports.
Talk a little bit, I like that end statements, not good, not be able to play at the sports. Could you maybe give me a closing sentence for that, like tobacco will do what, and so they won't be able to participate in the sports? If they smoke, they will.
We remind young people that if you are involved in smoking tobacco, if you are involved in smoking shisha, likely it affects your lungs, and your lungs are very important for you in life and also very important to be in sports. When you are using tobacco and putting all these chemicals in your lungs, likely your lungs are not going to function the same way as non-smokers, so you are not going to perform well in sports. So that's a good thing to remember. Be involved in sports, stay away from tobacco because it will negatively impact your ability to be a good soccer player.
We talk about assessment, community education, community engagement. Can you give me an idea what would be a success look like for you
Success in my
for the tobacco-free community program?
Success would be when young people in our community, the new generation, the teenagers, know that tobacco is dangerous. Know better than, I would say, others, elders, and older people. Know better than people who are using tobacco, know that it's dangerous, know these chemicals, and understand that tobacco affects you in your life and also affects other people in your family.
Can you tie in with that cultural assets you just mentioned? Soccer is a good motivation for people to quit. Can you tie that in with the success, what would look like? So you will use the soccers and help the next generations to be not smoking.
So you mean include soccer in
your statements, what the success will look like? So
success would look like I want to see young people who understand that tobacco is dangerous, understand to stay away from tobacco and be involved in sports, play soccer instead, and understand when you use tobacco, it will affect you, but instead when you play sports without using tobacco, you will be more likely you will be a healthy person.
Can you share a personal stories, any from your teenagers you've been working with, any soccer player you've been working with, any successful personal story you can share?
Personal story that
Yeah.
may not involve the youth that I work with.
No, that doesn't need to be used, but some of those throughout yourself, your friend circles, and your teenagers. Doesn't need to be just them.
When I was growing up, I grew up in East Africa where adults smoke around the young people. And when I was growing up, I had family members who smoked. And honestly, I thought that is what grown up men do. And I wanted to be like that when I grow up, to be able to smoke and to smoke when I grow up. That is what we talk to young people about. That what we see, whether we are consciously aware or not, are things that affect us. We encourage young people to be aware of how tobacco is around them in the community, and to be actively aware of that. And I messed up.
That's a good story.
I
That's
forgot.
a beautiful story. Yeah. Start again. Yeah. Yeah.
When I was growing up, I had adults in my family who smoked tobacco. So honestly, I thought that is what adults do when you grow up, and I wanted to be like that and smoke tobacco when I grew up. That is one of the things that we talk to young people about. We want them to be aware of the environment where they are at, and to be actively aware of where tobacco is, and to understand if people are using tobacco, likely they are addicted to it, and to stay away because they understand what is in tobacco and all the chemicals that are in tobacco. I can do better than that.
Oh, any other stories or? Oh. And any other things you want to mention and I didn't ask, particularly for those impact with Metro students? Do you want to talk about the photo projects, which we have not touched on?
Maybe, yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Mhm. At Metro Schools, one of our partners, where we have the tobacco-free education class, we do a lot of, we deliver the lessons through different ways, through discussions, where young people come and sit in a circle and talk about the lesson and discuss and talk about their opinions on different things without being judged. And we also do activities and projects. One of these projects that we have done recently is a photo voice project, which is basically young people, 9th graders with cameras, going around in their communities to document how tobacco is impacting and where tobacco is at in their community. And then we would develop the photos, and then they will write their stories. Through this project, they wrote many stories that we haven't even thought about. One of these is how money and tobacco are related. One of these students took pictures of a bank that is close to us, and then that person wrote their story and how tobacco is so powerful because there's money involved. And they talked about how tobacco is everywhere and that they found cigarette butts everywhere, and you just need to look and be aware of it, that it's there.
Any other things you want to include and I didn't ask?
In the photo voice?
In projects, impact, and do you work on any policy issues or anything? Okay. Any other things you want to include?
No.
Okay.
Mm.
Thank you so much. Yeah.